Okay, Rick Gym members, Dr. Jose Almeida coming back at you with another video newsletter, Embracing Repetition. And today we're going to focus on a little on cholesterol and cardiovascular disease, since it's been brought to my attention that some of our members may be a little older and may have problems with their cholesterol. So let's review what we've learned. Recall that metabolism basically means it's a summary of catabolism or anabolism. Anabolic processes make things and require energy to do it. Catabolic processes are breakdown and release energy. So our bodies are constantly building and breaking down. That's how we function. We have 37 trillion cells, and we're constantly in a state of building and breakdown. Our major, our macronutrients are protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Recall we've also touched on other macromolecules such as nucleic acids found in DNA, but we're not going to focus on that today. The centerpiece is glucose and acetyl-CoA. Glucose is the fundamental energy source that gets broken down through cellular respiration into acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA can then enter the Krebs cycle to make ATP. Recall that fats can also be broken down through beta oxidation to produce acetyl-CoA. Fatty acid oxidation makes about 107 acetyl-CoAs per fatty acid molecule. Glucose gets broken down into pyruvate and then acetyl-CoA, then enters the cycle, produces about 36 ATP. Proteins can be broken down into amino acids if energy is required, and can also, through a process of gluconeogenesis, make glucose, then pyruvate, then acetyl-CoA, and then it's an energy source. So our three macronutrients can be converted back and forth into glucose and serve as energy needs. When we eat, that's said to be our fed state or absorptive state. That occurs after eating, and food is being absorbed and broken down to be absorbed, and then will be rebuilt in our bodies. In the fasting state, when no food is around, our intestines are empty, we now require our own body for energy, and we will begin to break down stored energy. All right, so and just to summarize, we're mostly made of water, about 64%. 16% of our bodies are made of proteins. Again, that's from muscle protein, enzymes, our transport proteins in our cells. Minerals like calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium are required for energy conduction, enzyme function, etc. And our bodies are only about 1% carbohydrate, our energy source. Just take that into account. The carbs are coming in and out and being burnt for energy. When glucose is in excess, it will be stored either as glycogen in muscle or the liver, or as fat. But when energy is needed, glucose is broken down into ATP. So glucose is key. When glucose is too high, recall insulin is released to bring glucose down. Insulin is released by the pancreas. If we can't make insulin, or are insulin resistant, we get diabetes and our sugar levels rise. And sugar levels around 140 milligrams per deciliter are bad. This produces disease state, and as we know with diabetes, it damages the blood vessels. It can damage the blood vessels in our eyes, our kidneys, and our vasculature in our heart. And that's what we're going to focus a little bit on today, is cardiovascular disease. So cholesterol gets a bad rap, but cholesterol is a requirement. It's a steroid molecule and is the backbone for vitamin D, for sex hormones such as testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. Cortisol, our stress hormones, have a cortisol backbone. Cholesterol is used for our bile acids for digestion, and it's part of our cell membranes, which are mostly fatty. Um, so this is an important slide because there's so much focus on cholesterol as being the bad guy. But really, uh, cholesterol in the liver is packaged with triglycerides into very low density lipoproteins. So lipoproteins are what allow fat to mix in water. As we know, fat and water don't mix, so it has to be transported through our bodies through blood, which is mostly aqueous. So how do you get fat to move around to targets? You build lipoproteins. So our lipoproteins are VLDL, IDL, and LDL. Low density lipoprotein is really the bad guy that carries mostly fat and little protein, and is where cholesterol seems to play the biggest role. Whereas our HDL, high density lipoprotein, is made mostly of protein with a little bit of fat, and this is a cholesterol scavenger. So we won't get into these enzyme pathways, but just know that VLDL, IDL, and LDL are really the function as they're fatty molecules, and HDL is one that actually picks up cholesterol. So we want high HDL levels and low LDL levels. So when we measure our labs, we want our LDL to be low and our HDL to be high. Our total cholesterol should be less than 200. Okay, but cholesterol is a requirement. It's really abnormalities in LDL and HDL that are the focus right now. We're not going to get into the weeds on apoprotein A, which is found on HDL, and apoprotein B, which is found on all the fatty lipoproteins. But these are also becoming important in medicine. So let's look here. Our endothelial cells are the cells that line our blood vessels. Notice that glucose or sugar and lipoproteins such as LDLs, they can damage our blood vessels. Sugar circulating around is a bad guy, so that's why we want complex carbohydrates. Notice here that LDL gets absorbed and oxidized, and then this is now inside of our blood vessel wall, what's occurring. So macrophages are cells that are there to pick up garbage, basically. It starts picking up these LDL and it starts accumulating underneath our blood vessel surface and starts forming foam cells. So macrophages full of LDL are foam cells, and these are highly reactive. They start to accumulate underneath our endothelial lining and cause obstruction of our blood vessels. So this is a normal artery with a wide open lumen, and this is a plaque forming in the vessel wall, and as it grows, it occludes the blood vessel. Things that can help reduce plaque formation are low sugar diets, polyphenols such as found in red wine, and omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, which are essential fatty acids that have to be taken in from the outside, such as in salmon or nuts. But basically what I want to show you here is that as these plaques grow, they can rupture, and this is what we refer to as heart attacks and strokes, which is when the blood vessel, the coronary arteries that feed the heart, become occluded, and now the heart cannot get any blood supply, gets ischemic, and that's what we call a heart attack. LPA is a lab that we use as a general marker of cardiovascular risk, so you may see your doctors order that for you, or the high-density C-reactive protein is a general marker of inflammation. So a plaque that's about to rupture may have high CRP or C-reactive protein levels, representing inflammation. Things that doctors do, and I recommend if you have this problem, you have to see your own doctor. This is just general information for you. But the medications we can use, the statins are the most popular. They are HMG-CoA reductase inhibitors. HMG-CoA is the enzyme that makes cholesterol, basically. Statins, however, can cause a lot of muscle aches, so it requires some trial and error as to which statin is going to work for you. But these are the most effective cholesterol or LDL reducing agents. Zetia is another one that decreases cholesterol absorption in the small intestine. Zetia and statin used together can be used in lower doses to mitigate side effects, and they're much more effective in lowering LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, and raising HDL cholesterol, which is a good cholesterol. Niacin has been around forever. It's really just vitamin B. It's not that effective in cholesterol management, but people use it. There's actually some literature that it may not be as good as we think. So really the statins or Zetia is what you see your doctors using. But there's nothing like the correct diet, correct portions, so you manage your glucose properly, and you don't put on weight. So thank you for this episode. Hope you've enjoyed this one.